We have Colonel Retired Abid Latif with us. Sir, how do you see this development?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you for inviting me to your channel. I think this is a very good development, and we were already waiting for this as the process of talks was halted temporarily, and there was an expectation that soon it will start with a positive momentum, and both the delegation that is from Iran and USA. As they are coming to Pakistan, probably the Iranian delegation has already landed, and the USA's delegation will be landing the day after. And I think all the proposals which were already given and the counter proposals which will be discussed, and this will, I think, bring both the parties to a place or at a point from where I think they are able to reach a comprehensive and a composite framework, even if not the solution to the problems, because the situation is very complex, the problems are very complex, and the issues are very far-reaching. So
Yes.
we would not expect immediate solution to most of the things, but nevertheless, as the process has started, so it is a very good omen, not for only for the region, but it is for the global peace.
Yes, also I want to ask, because we have all seen, experienced this continued engagement between Washington and Tehran. So do you think that we are showing the high-level trust in the entire world, even when the NATO did not even intervene for this? So do you think the world is seeing the high-level trust in Pakistan for negotiations in the future?
Yeah, absolutely. As you know, President Trump has already said, I think 3 times, that NATO is a paper tiger. Plus, NATO was made as a defensive organization. It was not an offensive organization. So Trump's expectation of involving NATO in an active conflict was actually, I think, a too hyperbolic concept, which he wanted to imply. And plus, as you have said, that the trust which has been built on Pakistan, it has been manifested, and it is reciprocal towards both the antagonists, USA and Iran. And this has actually, I think, traversed a long journey in which Pakistan, through its continuous engagement, basing upon the rationality and reasonability of the diplomatic ventures which we have been taking since decades, from one crisis to the other, I think that has made Pakistan a very suitable, amenable, and a very deliberate choice for USA and Iran to come here at Islamabad, sit down, and under the mediation and under the benign mediation of Pakistan, reach to an agreement or reach to a place from where they can steer the world to an enduring peace.
Right. So if you look back into these, before these talks, there were a lot of contradictory and conflicting statements from both the sides. Like if we talk about US, recently Trump said that we will not open the Strait of Hormuz because if we do, Iran will make $500 million daily. So how do you read that, and will that impact the current talks?
Well, I see, as a student of geopolitics and international relations, I would think that there is a mindset. There is a mindset amongst the U.S. strategic elite, which has been infused into the subconscious since decades, that Iran is a malevolent country, Iran is a pere country, Iran holds an axis of evil. So Iran has an aim to annihilate the USA. The reality is that Iran cannot annihilate USA. Iran is not actually the enemy of USA. The politico-strategic objective of USA in this region, particularly in the Gulf, is to have peace, whereas USA is acting otherwise, and that depends, and that is actually happening because of the provocation, because of the nudging of first the Israeli lobby, which is very active, very functional, and very effective in USA, and second, the Mr. Netanyahu. So
Yes.
I think that realization that they have been used, in a very esoteric way, which very less people understand. So I think that realization has come to the strategic elite of USA, and they have decided now that they have to choose between America first or Israel first. And things like, the problem of Strait of Hormuz, whether it has to be opened on both the sides, that is from Hormuz Island backwards, or Hormuz Island forward towards the Arabian Sea, that is the Gulf of Oman, that will be sorted out. Once they'll sit there, they'll sit on the table and they'll thread the problem and the issue. And plus, this mindset that, Iran is a malevolent society or a country. Once this will go away, I think all the problems can be solved, including the problem of nuclear enrichment,
Yes.
the axis of resistance, which Iran called the axis of resistance, and USA called it as axis of evil, the issue of reparations or their assets, and whatever are other issues, whatever is the complexity, I think, I hope and I presume that maybe not immediately, but over a period of time, and once they will, reach a plateau from where they can at least see each other at equal footing and with a clairvoyant vision of, solving the decades-old issues, I think everything can be solved.
Right. So right now you talked about Netanyahu. So I really want to bring in this element. When it comes to these talks, right, one of the key factor in it is that Iran wants that Lebanon should have a complete ceasefire. And even after when Trump prohibited that there will be no drone attacks and attack to the Lebanon, still the Israeli, they attacked Lebanon afterwards. So do you think there's some Israeli element in it as well when it comes to these talks, and how influential that can be?
You see, if you want to understand that why Netanyahu behaves the way he behaves,
Yes.
then you have to understand that in 1992 he gave a concept of clean break, which was based on two things: that the territories which are adjacent or which is in the great proximity of Israel will be
Yes.
expanded, meaning thereby that Israel will expand towards West Bank, towards
Exactly.
towards this northern part, that is the Lebanon, towards south, it will take Gaza, and it will also expand towards Sinai Peninsula.
The greater
So,
Israel, basically.
Yeah, that's
Exactly.
right. And what we term as the Greater Israel is basically not a geographical construct. It is basically an ideological construct,
Exactly.
which means that Israel will ensure that all the countries in the region till Iran will be failed state. Those countries will be made failed through destructions, through chaos, and through their internal implosion. That
Right.
they have already done in many of the countries. But once they try to do it to Iran, I think what has happened and how things have turned over.
That's a really good analysis. I also want to ask this one question to you, that if we come back to the Strait of Hormuz, right? So how important for these talks to have a breakthrough now? Because it's not just Iran or US, it's the entire world now, because of the oil prices that they will increase $120 above if the Strait of Hormuz is not open. So what do you think how important it is to have a breakthrough in these talks? When it comes to like
Right. As a student of geopolitics, I think that Strait of Hormuz is the international jugular, and if you truncate the international jugular, you are actually going to stop the flow of the lifeline of the complete world. We say that about 30% of fertilizers, especially the urea, moves from this area. Then about 20% of the natural gas, and about 15% of the oil. But the overall cumulative effect of all these three things is around 80%, because now we are living in this, particularly this decade of 21st century, we are about 95%, all of us in every country, we are 95% dependent on hydrocarbon and molecules. and the main flow of that molecule is from State of Hormuz, from this region, from Gulf Cooperation Council, and from this area, including Saudi Arabia. So if the State of Hormuz is truncated, it is blocked, and there is a blockade, and that too, the military blockade, so the complete world is affected. And if it continues, God forbidden, for another 15 days, the complete world will about to see a depression, and another 15 days, maybe after a month, there is going to be start of the first global famine. So if the world wants to see this, God forbid, then this is a this is a scenario which is very precarious, which is very diabolic.
That's
So
true,
to avoid that, I think the only country which is struggling day and night, which is actually holding talks to have talk, is Pakistan. And I think the world should appreciate it. The world should give a due recognition to our sincere efforts, which we are doing, so that the global peace should be, made, happening in this region, particularly to our region also, and globally. I think that has to be done, and that is the only solution. So talks and the continuation of the process and the sincerity by all the players, particularly the parties, the main parties, USA and Iran, and also, the facilitation which already Pakistan has offered. I think that is the winning formula. If this continues, then we have all the reasons and all the hope that the problem will be solved and the world will be normal again, maybe after 15 days or 20 days or whatever is the time.
That's true, and also Pakistan had the ability to bring two different nations with two different regimes on the same table after 47 years. So how important is it for Pakistan to maintain this image throughout the world? I'm not talking about just the Gulf country, but throughout the world. How important is it for the Pakistan to maintain this image?
Right. Pakistan has no designs in actually, proffering itself to be a main player in any of the conflict. It is basically, it's altruistic, it's sincere, and without any design or interest, its desire to actually bring this region to a peaceful ambience which is actually required for the betterment and for the tranquility of all the countries. Plus, the global peace is, as I said, that the global peace and the flow of energy are linked. And if that is disturbed, so everything right here in Africa and Europe or even beyond Western Hemisphere, everything is affected.
Yes.
So Pakistan's effort is actually to bring both the antagonists to the table and make them understand that animosity, the conflict, or the escalation will actually not only affect these two countries, but it will also, unhinge the complete international financial, commercial, mercantile architecture. So once any event has such far-reaching effects and such a, I would say, overarching influence on rest of everything in the world, then it has to be sorted out. And that is the sincere desire, and that is the aim and the objective of Pakistan.
That is true. That is the main objective. And since you talked about the global peace, I also want to bring in this one thing called moral, accountability and morality of other countries. Pakistan, we already have so many sanctions, and a country that has so many sanctions emerge out to be a mediator, right? So why didn't other countries like delve in, especially when it comes to the NATO as well? They did not. But so where the morality ground of other countries stand compared to the Pakistan?
I couldn't get your question. You said Pakistan has already sanctioned?
No, not
Pakistan is
sanction. I'm
sanctioned.
saying Pakistan. We are already drowned in sanction and IMF funds and all, right? So a country that is already drowned in sanctions, and that emerging as a mediator is a big and a huge breakthrough, right? When it comes to, but I'm talking about the morality of other countries. Why didn't other countries came in for this negotiation? Because right now you mentioned about the global peace. So weren't other countries looking for the global peace?
I think it is not the question of morality that, why other countries are not taking part or being or acting being as a mediator. It is basically the placement. It is basically the natural placement which actually Allah Ta'ala has endowed upon Pakistan. First of all, most of the countries are, they can't be mediator because they are part of the historical question of the Arab world.
Right.
Either they were subjugators or they were part of that suzerainty triangle in which they used to rule this area. I am talking of UK, I am talking of USA, I am talking of other countries which were empire about 100 years or 150 years ago. Then, there were the countries which are Muslim countries and part of the Arab world, but they had, sort of relationship with Israel, which other Arab countries used to see as with a very suspicious eye. I'm talking of Egypt and other countries. I don't want to name so many. So actually, if you see, there is only one country which qualifies to be a mediator as very, because that it has, it is very clean as far as the history is concerned. It is very clean as far as the geographical intent is concerned. It is very clean as far as the geopolitical or ethno-religious, hue or the color is concerned. And that is only Pakistan. Even China can't be a mediator, because if China becomes a mediator, the problem immediately becomes an international issue, which nobody wants it to be taking that turn, particularly at this moment, or particularly at this geographical juncture. So I think the only option left to the world, it is not a matter of morality, but it is matter of, I think, the natural endowment which has been bestowed upon Pakistan by God Almighty.
Right. One last question. What could count as a successful outcome from this visit?
Sorry, pardon, I couldn't hear you.
What could count as a successful outcome from this visit? As Abbas Araghchi arrived.
There is only one successful count which we look forward, is that the process should continue. I would not say that some solutions should be coming in 2 days or 3 days, but I wish that process should continue. They would, they might take maybe 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, but they should sit, they continue, the process, and, even if they reach the plateau inch by inch, we don't mind it. Till the time the process is on, till the time they are talking to each other, till the time there is a ceasefire in the theater of war, I think we are good to go.
Thank you so much for giving us your time, sir, and thank you so much for being with us and giving us this deep analysis.